Well, shares of Tesla jumped up this morning on an anonymously sourced Politico report. Look at those shares. That President Trump has told his inner circle that Elon Musk would be stepping back from Doge in the coming weeks. So is Elon Musk done with Doge? Probably not. But he'll leave it up to the team maybe he assembled to do the dirty work for him. Remember that Politico had millions of dollars, of course, pulled from them when it was revealed that USAID was funding Politico. So I guess take this report with a grain of salt. The White House denies the report. They're certainly taking it with a grain of salt. Here's Caroline Levitt just a short time ago. This scoop is garbage, she writes. By the way, I love when reporters write scoop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one that got the scoop.
Right. Right.
Scoop. So President Trump has told his inner circle and members of his cabinet that Elon Musk will be stepping back in the coming weeks from his current role. Scoop. Well,
maybe
Caroline
that
says,
worked before there was an algorithm. But now that there's an algorithm, it doesn't really work because nobody can verify it. We don't care. We only care if you bring us something that's worth seeing. So that's like, it's not the 20s anymore. There's no newsboys in the street,
Scoop, read all about it.
Yeah, but you can keep using that word.
So Caroline says, the scoop is garbage. Elon Musk and President Trump have both publicly stated that Elon will depart from the public service as a special government employee when his incredible work at Doge is complete. Also, we learned today that this lady, remember her?
Pondering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying...
Sorry. Yes, the group responsible for the Tesla boycott is tied to her. You can't make this up. Her new project is called the American Sunlight Project, which is funded by George Soros. As it turns out, Jankowicz is a co-founder at the American Sunlight Project, is a guy named Carlos Alvarez Araños, thank you. A communications professional who worked for the Biden Department of Defense. One of the people who launched the call for a boycott of Tesla. So when she was asked about who's actually funding your new project in front of Congress yesterday, she dodged this question.
Ms. Jankowicz, your organization, the American Sunlight Project, claims to have a commitment to transparency and apparently does not extend to disclosing its donors. Has the American Sunlight Project received funding either directly or indirectly from the George Soros or his foundations, including the Open Society Foundation?
Thank you, Congressman. I've received a lot of threats for speaking out. And so I've decided that we are going to abide by the rules that other 501c4s in our country abide by. And we are not required to disclose our donors, small or large, because I frankly don't want them to be threatened the way that I have been.
So sunlight for other people, but not for your donors.
If you're interested in more sunlight, I welcome you to introduce some legislation to overturn Citizens United, sir.
Oh, zing.
Okay.
So... there's Jankowicz. You thought we saw the last of her?
Oh, no, we didn't, because she's still trying to come back around on her lawsuit against Fox News for just pointing out how she's garbage.
Yeah.
So she lost that suit. It was thrown out and she still wants to appeal and she's still crowdsourcing it. So if you have some extra money around and you want to help her out, you think that's a good cause, you can do that. Do that.
Sure. You can absolutely do that. Well, we want to talk about this because it is Liberation Day. It's not just Tesla stock that surged today. Markets also, the rest of the market is too surging in anticipation of Trump's big Liberation Day tariff announcements. We have guest Dr. Michael Schwartz joining us today on the show to break this all down. He's an entrepreneur, a podcaster, author of The Only Way to Save America. And as we sort of eagerly anticipate exactly how all of these tariffs are going to play out, Dr. Schwartz, welcome to the show. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
How are you celebrating Liberation Day today? Have you?
It's a day. Well, the day couldn't come soon enough. I mean, you look at what we used to do back in the 80s. We used to look for those tags, "Made in America." Now we've gotten away from that because we've come to a globalist this idea that everybody else should be equal. Meanwhile, we forget that the American workers, we don't put enough interest in them. I mean, Trump used tariffs as a negotiating tool, not to isolate Americans, but we forget that. The left will have you think that this is one big tax on Americans, but meanwhile, we're not making anything in America anymore.
Right. And so he continues to say, this is reciprocal. If they tariff us, we tariff them. And so in response, Israel says, I guess we'll stop that now.
And Vietnam.
To which most of us are like, why was Israel putting taxes on us? We give them so much money. Shouldn't we have never had that?
Right.
And so, can you play out how this might go? Will other countries follow Israel? Or is this actually going to be a tariff war?
Yeah, I think so. Israel came out and already said that. Claudia Scheinman from Mexico came out and said they don't want to impose tariffs on us. You saw that from Canada today. There's leaks about that, but that hasn't been confirmed yet, I don't think. But you can see that this is just one big game of chicken. But Trump is the ultimate negotiator. I mean, look, this is the guy who wrote The Art of the Deal. For people that don't understand that, we didn't have an income tax until 1913. We used to get all of our money from tariffs. That only became into law with the 16th Amendment. The passage of that is what allowed the government to start taxing its own citizens. So this is kind of the way it was intended to be under the founders. But what the left is telling you is that this is just going to be one big tax. It's going to cause inflation. Meanwhile, they didn't care about the inflation under Biden. They didn't say one word about it. But when the prices go up, even if they go up, short term right now under Trump, of course it's going to be a giant disaster for the left.
Yeah. Well, and the left is already, even CNN over the past few hours has been saying you're going to feel the pain, not even knowing what Trump's plan is. Like they don't have an inside track on exactly what he's rolling out here, so you're going to feel the pain. But let me just kind of go through some of the details here. So when the initial tariffs went into place, they got announced. Prices went down. Take a look at this according to Truflation. Yields went down. Some countries took down their tariffs as a result of it. So this is the case right now that we had 3% inflation in December. It's down to 1.4 this week. And then we also have gasoline prices dropping to a 4-year low. Egg prices dropped off precipitously. We know that was a big talking point of the left. Trump, what are you going to do about these egg prices? As friend of the show, Anthony Pompliano, pointed out this morning, the 10-year Treasury yield, which the administration has said was a key metric for them, has been falling over the past few weeks. We haven't hit the number that they're hoping for just yet, but it's on that downward trajectory. So what kind of pain exactly are we expected to see from the liberal media? Like, what are they expecting us to suffer through over the next few days, weeks, months?
Yeah. That's a great question, Clayton. And the left they didn't have an indication of what was to come anyway. You saw this on day one when Trump was elected. They thought, why aren't egg prices going down today? We've only been in office for 2 months. The market, though, will find its ultimate equilibrium here. At the end of the day, we need to start producing more products in America. We should be concerned about American jobs, not jobs overseas. So when you look at all those indicators, they're all snapshots in the day. Everybody's kind of glued to the TV today to see what's going to happen after, tomorrow morning when the market's open, to find out what happens after hours today from this big announcement. Well, we all knew it was coming. It's not like this has been a secret and we're sitting here with bated breath waiting for this thing. The markets are going to find their equilibrium at the end of the day. And I don't think it's going to be that drastic. But if you look at what we did after pretty much after Reagan, once we got into the Obama era and we started worrying more about the globalists than we did here, we've gotten so lackadaisical in this country. We don't care about American made anymore. And we should. Everybody always says nationalist. And for some reason, I don't know why liberals like to put the word white in front of nationalist. Nobody ever says that. Nationalist cares about their country. That's where our concern should be, about here, jobs here. But the market will figure itself out. I don't think it's going to be that long-term, Clayton. I think these will be short-term blips. And in 6 months to a year, you're going to see everything even out. And the long-term play at the end of this administration will be more jobs for Americans, more revenue for this country, and less pressure to buy from overseas.
What are you looking for today? What key indicators are you looking for from President Trump?
Well, of course, I'm going to be glued to the markets tomorrow morning. But as far as the president is concerned, I'm more interested in this political, like I said, game of chicken. It's interesting to see what other countries and how they're reacting to the president, because no other president, for lack of better words, had the cojones to do this. You didn't see this under the Biden administration. They just kind of played the market. They wanted it to be fair in their minds, but it was never fair to Americans. They were more concerned about what France and Mexico and Canada would think of us. We got to stop worrying about what everybody thinks of us. So look, I'll be looking at the markets tomorrow morning, but it's more interesting kind of to see the political fallout from around the world and what leaders are pushing back and what leaders are kind of giving in. Right now, it seems like that Donald Trump is winning this game of chicken.
Well, it also should make us feel as Americans, wow, they really take advantage of us. Why would they do that to American products when we pay for so much of their security in European countries? And so it kind of feels like a mirror in front of our faces. Like, yeah, we are kind of treated badly. I don't like that. One thing we focus on a lot is the media spin. Now, when the jobs numbers and the inflation numbers came out for January, the media said, see, look what Trump did, even though he was only in office 1/3 of that month. Now we have February numbers and they're good. We see incomes up, consumer spending up. Can we actually attribute that to President Trump? We know the media doesn't want to, but what are the specific things that you think have been done thus far by the administration that would lead to that economic growth?
Well, it's the action, right? It's the action versus inaction. Look at the border right now. We have the lowest crossings in years. I mean, it's the fact that Trump does what he says and he says what he does. And I think people are reacting to that, all these little blips in the market. A lot of the Democrats are going to say these short-term gains, are got to be holdovers from what Biden was doing. That's simply not true. And a lot of people say, well, like you just pointed out, we've only been in office for 2 months. Can we attribute any of this to Trump? I think a lot of it is speculation. So when you understand that this president does what he says, and like I said, says what he does, he's going to carry out some of these policies. We get into the tax policy right now. Howard Lutnick wants to abolish the income tax. I'm huge in favor of that. They're coming out with maybe no tax on less than $150,000, but this no tax on tip, no tax on Social Security. I think the markets realize that Donald Trump is serious about these things and they're going to carry them forward. So you're going to see the market react early based on the fact that I think they're convinced that he's going to get these things done.
Right. But we're still very much waiting, though, for the tax reform, for no tax on Social Security, for, anything like that. So a lot of it, you're right. It's a maybe good faith sentiment.
It's pure speculation, but at the end of the day, like I said, Trump is serious. I mean, what other leader has campaigned where you find they actually do what they say they're going to do during a campaign? I mean, it's kind of first time in our lifetime that we have a president who wants to get things done. I mean, we saw it in the first administration, but they pushed back so much. You're seeing that now. But with Trump now, I think, and I've talked to his folks. I'll be down to Trump International this weekend. And when you talk to his staff, they realize it too. They all knew that during the first administration, he was trying to look like a leader without scaring the country. Now he's gotten 4 years under his belt. He had the other 4 years to see all the lawfare. Now they said this is going to be a completely different term because he's surrounding himself with people who can get things done. He's not worried about the perception anymore. He's just laser focused on getting the mission done.
Yeah, and I hope the right information is getting to him, that he's not being gate-kept by certain people and that the right information is flowing to President Trump to carry these things out. So I'm really worried about the deep state surrounding him. That's what always triggers me. Dr. Michael Schwartz, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us from New Jersey today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Guess what, guys? 1775 and Rumble just unleashed the first anti-aging coffee and an insane longevity bundle at half the price. This limited edition bundle is a powerhouse collection designed to energize your days, sharpen your mind, and help you feel younger than the current administration wishes it was. Inside, you're getting your top-selling anti-aging coffee, the ultra-rare Pea Berry Blend, an exclusive 1775 branded tumbler, plus more premium coffee and limited edition merch that you can't find anywhere else. That's a $200 value for just $100. But here's the catch. Only 1,000 bundles are being released. Once they're gone for good. And if that's not enough, every dollar you spend gets you into an entry to win a Cybertruck and $30,000 in cash. But you've only got 1 month left to enter. So go to 1775.com/redacted right now to secure your longevity pack. Drink coffee that fuels your freedom, your values, and your life. Again, 1775.com/redacted. Well, so the markets, we're going to be watching how the markets, come out of this and how many countries will be on Trump's tariff list today and all of these indicators. But one thing, of course, that's going to could throw a wrench into the works is war. So here we go, folks. Iran reportedly preparing a preemptive strike on a joint U.S.-UK military base on the Chagos Islands in the Indian Ocean, 2,400 miles from Tehran. Why? Because they think a second Trump presidency could mean bombs falling on their homeland after President Trump threatened to bomb them last week. And with the way that neocons in Washington, of course, talk about Iran, it's not exactly a crazy assumption right now. So let's be clear. The Biden administration wasn't exactly waving olive branches at all either. Despite media spin, there's zero real diplomacy happening with Iran or even Russia from the Biden administration. It's all been proxy wars, arms deals, money laundering operations, and tough guy speeches. And Iran's watching it all unfold. especially Americans' blank check right now. America's blank check to Israel is a flashing neocon warning sign that they could be next on the list. Now, here's the part that no one wants to talk about. Russia, in all of this, just weighed in and said, look, that any strike, U.S. strike on Iran would be a disaster for the West. That's not an empty threat. Russia and Iran are military allies pushing too hard. Push too hard and the U.S. could find itself in a multi-front war with not one but two nuclear powers. And don't forget the Houthis in all of this. So the U.S. ships keep getting attacked in the Red Sea. But notably, nobody seems to mention this. When Israel paused its bombing during the Gaza ceasefire, the Houthis stopped attacking our ships completely. But as Caitlin Johnstone pointed out this morning, it's not a mystery. They're retaliating because we're backing Israel's attack on civilians in Gaza. And she points this out perfectly in her piece today. I encourage you to read it. And she says they're retaliating because we're backing Israel's massacre of civilians. And she said, after 2 weeks of interacting with people who support Trump's war, I can confidently say that none of them know why the war is happening. They know it has something to do with the Houthis attacking ships in the Red Sea, but they never have any idea why those attacks started happening in the first place.
Does it even matter to those people?
No.
It's just a war is in the inbox, and we got to deal with it.
So they label them, as she points out, they label them terrorists and pirates. She says those words come up a lot. They legitimately do not know it's a blockade aimed at halting Israel's genocidal atrocities in Gaza, and that all attacks had ceased while the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas was in effect. They have no idea that Ansar Allah only announced the Red Sea blockade would resume after Trump and Netanyahu actively collaborated to sabotage the ceasefire and resume starving Gaza, or that they hadn't even resumed attacks yet when Trump began bombing them. Bottom line, this isn't self-defense. It's a manufactured chaos moment in the Middle East. What the hell are we doing there? Get the hell out. And President Trump today attacked Yemen's water supply. So this just happened before the show. U.S. airstrikes destroyed the water source for 50,000 Yemenis. So this wasn't an attack on Houthis, but they have now been bombing them. This is, hitting this massive water infrastructure, which will affect 50,000 civilians. A war with Iran means American deaths, terrorist blowback in the United States, a price tag in the trillions of dollars. Americans did not vote for this. Americans said enough is enough. We don't want these wars. Get us out of the Middle East. And there's just such a lack of education around what is actually happening there, especially in Yemen right now. So if the White House had any interest in avoiding this catastrophe, it would quit playing global cop, stop poking Iran, and just for once try to de-escalate before it's too late. And, Russia is not going to sit back and watch this happen. And as we're trying to negotiate a ceasefire agreement in Ukraine, this could spiral out of control. And it looks like it is right now in Yemen.